Hey, what's going on today, guys? It's Barrett with Kaleido Roasters and Espresso Outlet. I just been roasting. It's just super hot out, but we're gonna get some coffee beans roasted before the 4th of July. And this is gonna be roast number 4 of the morning. I've been playing with a couple beans that I'd never roasted before, but now I'm gonna roast just some Good Brothers espresso blend just for people that want some milk drinks, and we're just gonna get it going. So I have this preheated. We're actually on the 2.8.3 of Artisan, so if you haven't downloaded that, that's really what I wanted to play with a lot today. I've been using it for the last probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And let me tell you, this upgrade, at least for me, has been amazing. Some of the weird buggy issues that they've had in the past, I don't have those issues at all. Usually where I was having the most problems is when I click end roast, or at the very end, Artisan would want to crash. It didn't really know what to do. So I just click off, I turn it back on, and start preheating, and the mixed batch is ready to go. So let's get started. I have 300 grams of espresso blend. Make sure your door is shut. Make sure your dump door is shut. Just load them in. And we're just gonna get her going. So I actually have a fairly simple background turned on. Let's see. Make sure you can kind of see it. And it's one that I've liked. It's on our website. It works quite well. It's definitely more on the darker side. So if you're wanting to roast those like honey process or those lighter beans, it's probably not for you. Hopefully you can hear. Got the fan on. It's a little loud out here, so I'm going to go ahead and click start, and we're just going to hover over the charge button. Let's reposition again. We're going to dump beans. But usually there's like a couple beans that get stuck in the top, not a real big deal. If you haven't done it, make sure your chaff bin, I should have checked before I started the video, it's nice and empty, because that will start smoking real bad. I hope that didn't throw it off too bad. And I'm going to click the charge button, and we're just going to do an auto roast. So if you've not done an auto roast before, they can be a little bit intimidating, because if you're not running a background that's very good, it's going to follow that auto roast. And then the other thing that I tell people is they'll develop an auto roast for maybe a larger roaster like an M10, and their charge temp is set much higher. And then when you throw it on like an M1 or an M2, they have this real high, like 180, 185 degree charge temp, and it's just too hot for these smaller roasters. So if you're going to do that, it's not a big deal. Just make sure to go in and adjust your charge temp. Otherwise, you're going to be really frustrated throughout the whole roast. So, like right now, our burner is on 0. Let me move my chair. I think the chair is the problem. And even yet, this one's still running way too hot. Our turning point happened a little bit too fast. But during this drying phase, I found that you can recover pretty easily. So we're just over here. And usually our drying period is going to be about 4 minutes. And if you do use your dryer a lot, you can kind of start to see them begin to yellow. We're only at the 2-minute mark, so there's no yellowing quite yet. It really doesn't take that long. This roast profile here, it says drop at about 914. I usually drop before that at about 203, 204 degrees. So it might be a little bit of a boring video, but we're going to go through just step by step, kind of what we're looking at. If we go over here and look at our screen again, Artisan does some really cool stuff. So, as your turning point, based off of where things are right now, it says the dry time. When you click dry end, which we will here in about a minute or so, it'll start to calculate when your first crack is. And once first crack hits, it will begin to calculate the percent development of the beans. So Artisan really does some really neat stuff. I like on the side you have your exhaust temp and your bean temp. Really what I'm looking at is the bean temp and your rate of rise or your delta BT. So that's really what's most important to me. Other than just making sure that you're staying on your curve quite nicely. So you can see how Artisan, since the turning point happened rather quickly on this roast, it's actually designed, I believe, for an M10 roaster. Because of that, it kind of flattened this curve out, and now it's going to recover and trend on this line. It pretty much has done that every time I use this graph. It's worked pretty good for this espresso blend since it can run quite a bit darker, a little more forgiving since we're not looking for those nice fruity notes. And then that is where we're going to click our dry end here in a second. So we're going to go ahead and click dry end. We're at about 150 degrees on our bean temp. You can see how this blue, since it's crossed this red line, this kind of like grayed out red line behind it, or kind of brown, is dropping our temp back down just so that it'll start trending that darker red line with the more grayed out red line. And if we take a look at our beans, you can tell that they've begun to yellow. So I usually do the roasting in the garage. I do have a duct set up to run all the exhaust out onto the driveway. We'll begin to see some what they call smoke. It is actual smoke coming off the beans, and it does get pretty smoky. So if you're going to do this in your house, I recommend not. I recommend doing it outdoors. Just get you a little cart, go out in your garage. Like, unfortunately today it's about 100 degrees right now, and this is not a cool thing to do, so it's pretty hot. Some people have improvised and done their own exhaust adapters. That's what I've done. I keep saying hopefully we'll be getting some soon, but it's just taking quite a while for some reason. So the manufacturer, they're working on making some adapters for us, and hopefully they get them over to us here pretty soon. So right now we're actually going through kind of our mallarding phase. So it's beginning to caramelize these beans and prepare them for the roast. We just lost a little bean. Zoom in on this again. So it's trending along that line, really nice. We just did a batch a minute ago. They turned out perfect for what I like. These were dropped at about 204. Technically, these beans can probably go a bit darker, but I just don't like that dark of coffee bean typically. There are a few, like a Monsoon Indonesian, that they just look so dark, and they pull amazing espresso, and they're just fantastic as like a drip. But a lot of these, they just don't do very well, in my opinion, as a really dark bean. I just get a lot of that kind of ashiness that I don't personally care for. We're moving right along. We should be hitting, I mentioned a minute ago, actually let's zoom back in so you can see. based off of this profile, it's calculating the first crack is going to happen in about a minute. It's going to go up and down. So like right now it's going up a little bit because you can see that our temperature is automatically going down just to try to compensate for some of that. But it's going to start going back up and that first crack's going to start dropping like crazy. And it's real important to click through all these buttons. So when you begin the roast, you need to make sure to click charge. If you don't click charge, it's not going to start the PID or anything like that. You can actually hear it starting to crack over here. It's really important to click dry in because if not, it's not going to calculate when your first crack is supposed to start. So it's really important to click through these. Really, you just need to get to the first crack start, and the rest of these don't matter until you click drop. Okay, we're gonna hit first crack start because it's going pretty good. Let's get a good view. And after this, I am done. It is hot. So these aren't real noisy beans, and we're about to drop this any second. We're at about 204, 205 degrees, so the development on this isn't very long. We're at about 9% right now. We're probably going to be about 10 by the time I click drop. So let's click drop. And when you click drop, it's going to automatically trigger the fan, or it should. I know some people have said that theirs doesn't. That's an artisan issue. What I typically like to do is just kind of stir these beans. You want to make sure to keep beans all along these holes so that it's drawing air through the beans and it's not just taking the path of least resistance and just sucking the air through those holes. Otherwise, the beans are going to cool quite fast. They're cooling really rapidly, so that's good. In my opinion, they're cool enough that we could stop now, but I like to get them nice and cool. Okay, so that's just a quick roast. I hadn't done a live roast in a little while, and just wanted to do a roast to show y'all. It's really not that hard. I mean, we're at about 12 minutes elapsed time. You still have to set up your roaster and stuff, so if you don't have a place to keep it, I usually just set it up on this folding table. It takes probably 5 minutes to set up, but typical roast takes a solid 8 to 10 minutes to do the roasting, and then a couple minutes for the cool down. Then obviously you have a little bit of cleanup, but like today I've only been out here for like 45 minutes. I've only been using this M2, which is a little bit smaller. It's pretty much perfect for like a home roaster, but if you want those larger batches, I'd probably go with an M6. A lot of people go with the M10, and it's just too big for homeowners in my opinion, so I'd probably stick with the M2 or the M6 if you're going with the larger Kaleidos. But Really love this Artisan 2.8.3. It's just the beta. They have the 2.8.4, and I know some people, I think they're just playing with it. I think it's just the beta release. I haven't downloaded it, and they said it just doesn't work right. So I really recommend the 2.8.3 beta because it's been spotless on this thing. If you have any questions, you can always hit us up in the comments. You can go to KaleidoRoasters.com or EspressoOutlet.net. We have a chat feature. If we're not there, it'll leave us a message, or probably the best is to shoot us an email. And you can find our email on our website as well. But thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a good 4th of July. I'm going to enjoy some good coffee during this 100-degree heat. But just enjoy. Hit subscribe too if you can. Thanks for watching.